Check 1 2. Check. 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 1 2. Check.
You got it? Yeah, but what?
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check. Check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check. Check.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Coatesville Area School District Special School Board meeting for Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. Agenda item 1B, purpose of the meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to approve the appointment of Dr. Catherine Van Voren as the superintendent of the Coatesville Area School District. Agenda item 1C, reading of the mission statement. Mission of the Coatesville Area School District, rich in diversity and committed to excellence, is to create innovative educational experiences which are funded by the taxpayers, supported by the community, delivered by dedicated teachers and administrators to ensure all students will become responsible, contributing global citizens. Agenda item 1D, advisement. By notice of the President, board members are advised that all votes shall be regarded as roll call votes. The minutes should also note the public notice was given for this meeting in accordance with Act 93 of 1998, Section 1. School board meetings shall proceed in accordance with school board policy. Madam Secretary, call the roll, please.
Rob Fisher.
Here.
Brandon Roan.
Here.
Harvell Brown.
Here.
Holly Charest. Here. Andrew Finkbonner.
Here.
Becky Harlan. Here. Mary Ann Harris.
Ms. Harris is to be excused this evening.
Amelia Mills. Here. Jennifer Schott. Here.
At this time, if we could all stand for a moment of silence, followed by the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To my colleagues, are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda this evening? Additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 3A, public comment on agenda items. The board has requested all persons making comments on agenda items to list their name, address, telephone number, and motion items on the sheet provided. There is a 3-minute limit per person. The board does not take action to discuss items not appearing on the agenda. The board values public comments and wishes to convey that although board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda, they listen carefully and appreciate and value input from the public. Lori Shannon Bailey.
Good evening. Each of you should have gotten my recommendations or my comments to you regarding what I felt our district needed in a superintendent. So I won't go over that other than just to say I did make a recommendation that you all pick someone who had a strong focus on trauma-informed. At last week's board meeting, I heard a lot of conflict and information about trauma-informed. I heard that the teachers had been trained or the teachers had not been trained. I heard that the progress was going to take 1 to 2 years or maybe 5 years.
Ms. Shannon Bailey, if we could stay with the agenda item, please.
Thank you.
There'll be open comment.
Thank you, President Fisher. So my question to the board is, will you please ask the superintendent to communicate to the public what her top 5 priorities are for this community? Obviously, I don't have to talk about the challenges, but we do have them. I would also ask that you think very carefully about salaries. We have gotten a lot of money from the governor through Harrisburg. I haven't looked or investigated salaries, and I'm not here to say anything other than the fact that it's going to be a very, very challenging position. But we are in a low-wealth school district, so as you make a decision about the superintendent's salary, please keep in mind and consideration we're here to serve children, and they are our top priority. Again, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Shannon Bailey. Agenda item 4A, appointment of Superintendent Dr. Catherine Van Voren. Recommended motion that the Board of School Directors approve the resolution for the appointment of Dr. Catherine Van Voren as new superintendent of the Coatesville Area School District as outlined below. Do I have a message?
Motion.
I should have said motion, not
Second.
message, right? And we have a second. At this time, I will read the resolution in its entirety. Whereas there is a vacancy in the office of District Superintendent in the Coatesville Area School District, And whereas the Board of School Directors has engaged in a rigorous search with the assistance of the Chester County Intermediate Unit to locate excellent and high-performing candidates. And whereas, after a careful evaluation of the many fine candidates who applied, the school board has determined to appoint Dr. Catherine Van Voren as the next district superintendent. And whereas Dr. Catherine Van Voren has indicated her willingness to serve the school district and its students, parents, and other constituents in the capacity as district superintendent. Now, therefore, would it resolve that Dr. Catherine Van Voren is hereby appointed as district superintendent in accordance with Section 1073 of the school code for the term commencing on or before February 27, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2026, at a salary of $215,000, all in accordance with the terms and conditions of the employment agreement as presented. That the board hereby approves the employment agreement as presented. The President and Secretary are hereby directed to execute the agreement as presented and to execute such other instruments and take such other actions as necessary to enable Dr. Catherine Van Voren to begin her service on or before February 27, 2023. Before I call for the vote, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Jennifer Schott,
Yes.
Brandon Roan,
Yes.
Andrew Finkbonner,
Yes.
Rob Fisher,
Yes.
Becky Harlan,
Yes.
Holly Charest,
Yes.
Amelia Mills,
Yes.
Carvel Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Dr. Van Voren, congratulations. At this time, I'll allow for any comments from my colleagues. Anybody wish to make any comments at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to public comment. But before we do, somewhere in the auditorium here this evening, I saw him earlier, is Mr. George Fiore and his team. Mr. Fiore is the executive director of the Chester County Intermediate Union. And on behalf of the entire board, Dr. Fiore, we want to thank you for conducting a very thorough and fair search. We are thankful for your services, and once again, I think it needs to be noted, at no charge to our school district. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5A, public comment. The board has requested that all persons making comments of public concern list their name, address, telephone number, and topics on the sheet provided. There is a 3-minute time limit per person. James Noel. Or is it Noel James? I'm sorry. Miss James.
Good evening. My daughter did not deserve the 180 days expulsion that she did receive in November 2022. She continues to have experienced a significant educational loss September 12th to January 12th.
I'm sorry, she wants me to finish reading this. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. She continues to experience a significant educational loss from September the 12th through now. She feels like you all have failed her daughter. She got some very disappointing news late today. So now we are back to square one in terms of trying to expeditiously get her back into a program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. James. Ms. Shannon Bailey.
I'm going to pass on my public comments. Thank you.
Thank you. To my colleagues, any other informational items? Seeing none, as a point of clarity, Dr. Van Voren will be officially sworn in at the courthouse in Westchester in front of a common pleas judge, and that will take place sometime between now and her official start date. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Fisher, before we do that in the informational section, if I could just take an opportunity to thank Dr. Dunlap publicly for his work. I know the title was interim, but I think everyone would agree that you certainly owned the role every day that you came in and did the work in that superintendent's office. So said it before, but we'll say it again. Thank you for your many hours, for your expertise, and certainly your willingness to do this, because quite frankly, you didn't have to. And more importantly, thank you to Mrs. Dunlap for allowing you to do this.
And Mr. Van Voorn, we'll thank you ahead of time. And Mr. Rohn, thank you for sharing that. I'm assuming, Dr. Dunlap, that you have one more meeting with us next week, so we'll save some additional comments for that. Any other informational items?
Yeah, Mr. Fisher, I'd just like to make one. I saw one of my favorite people, I think, come in. Mrs. Fisher, are you here? We're so glad to have you back. That's one of my favorite people. Thank you.
At this time, I'll accept a motion for adjournment. Motion. We will adjourn at 5:42.